and they win the NFC South.
What's good, everybody? Let's talk some Tampa sports. Today we are starting a new series that will span 4 weeks, one video a week. For the first 3 weeks, we will just be going one by one, looking into our division rivals, the changes that they've made, their season outlook. Are things looking high, things looking low, whatever it may be. And then the final piece of this series, part 4, will just be a full divisional preview before the season begins. So, up first, we have the team who finished in last place last year, the team who is our rivals but are not our rivals because they'd rather be rivals with the Atlanta Falcons, because why wouldn't you want to be rivals with a team that's known for choking and having no championships? Like, it's just a lot easier on yourself, and I get their logic. I do get their logic. It's a little weird how defensive they get when our rivalry is brought up. Like, no, they're not our rivals. Like, all right. Okay. Sure. We're talking about them. The Saints, the Aints, the team that can't win in 2025. This is going to be a interesting video. Starting off a little bit with last season. So, of course, they meet twice. First game in New Orleans in week 6, the Bucs go crazy, putting up the 50-burger 51-27 in New Orleans. I was there in the Superdome that day. What a feeling. That was the game that was only a few days after the hurricane that hit Tampa. I had no power, so we ended up going out to New Orleans and watching a beautiful game take place. And then week 18, final week of the season, that was the Mike Evans game. 27-19, the Bucs win. They do sweep the Saints last year. And going into this year, things are looking a little bit different with the Saints. They do make a bunch of changes. And, I mean, it starts coaching, quarterback. It's rebuild time in New Orleans. And it's crazy because after week 2, after they put up 40 points in back-to-back games in 2024, you would have thought they were just trajectory way up, and then it just falls completely apart. After starting 2-0, like I said, putting up 40 points at least in each game, they then go 3-12 the rest of the way. They go 0-7 without Derek Carr as their quarterback. I will give it to them. They had a ton of injuries. When you look at Olave, Shaheed, their offensive line, Derek Carr, some defensive pieces, I will give them that. And you do have to give them a little bit of grace there because it's a lot to deal with, for sure. That many key positions, your quarterback, offensive line, like I said, your top 2 receivers, it's going to be tough. And like I said, 3-12 the rest of the way, 0-7 without Derek Carr. That's how it played out. So like I said, they're starting somewhat fresh, starting somewhat of a rebuild. If it were me, I'd just completely wipe the slate clean, but I wouldn't say they're really doing that yet. Dennis Allen out as head coach, and they bring in Kellen Moore, who was previously with the Philadelphia Eagles, most recently being their OC. Before that, the Cowboys. Before that, the Chargers. So he's coached up some pretty good quarterbacks. When you look at Hurts, I think he was there for Prescott's best season, and then Justin Herbert. So there, you're moving from a defensive-minded head coach in Dennis Allen to an offensive-minded head coach in Kellen Moore. A lot of youth there, too. Kellen Moore is a young guy. In the offseason, their quarterback, Derek Carr, ends up retiring, just continuously dealing with injuries. He just ends up calling it. Tyrann Mathieu, safety, wasn't the player he once was but at 32 years old, but still a piece that played a ton of downs, a ton of snaps, and has to be replaced. So there's 2 retirees right there, 2 leaders, one on the offense, one on the defense, that they have to find a way to replace. So you would think after a bad season, they'd go out in free agency, spend some money, get some pieces, maybe some new leaders, some new locker room guys, just try and start to build a culture with this new head coach. But straight up, they're just unable to. We talked about this for years now. At this point, it feels like with the Saints just continuing to kick the can down the road in terms of their cap space. Just continuing to go all in for some reason post Sean Payton post Drew Brees just continuing to give it all that they had. And now they have no money to spend to improve a roster that needs to be improved. They're still paying guys like Jameis Winston, obviously Derek Carr, Marshawn Lattimore, Michael Thomas, Ryan Ramczyk. $87 million in dead cap is what the Saints are working with right now. So in free agency, they really couldn't make any moves to improve this roster that needs help. Their biggest moves, re-signing Chase Young, which I wouldn't say he's, a great edge rusher. He's decent, okay, solid, get the job done, sure. They re-signed Jawan Jennings, maybe a little bit of an overpriced contract at $10 million a year for Jawan Jennings. Solid receiving tight end. But hey, they bring back Brandon Cooks, who of course was originally drafted to the Saints, same class as Mike Evans. So another receiving threat there to go along with Shaheed and Olave, who they hope can stay healthy. Of course, at this point, Olave for sure, injury prone. For sure at this point, so they bring in Brandon Cooks as depth, because last year you saw when Shaheed and Olave went down, it were guys you've never heard their name before. It's not like the Bucs currently, where if Evans and Godwin go down, you now have Ibuka, McMillan, Tez Johnson. Like, it's not the same situation in New Orleans right now. Granted, I don't know if there are any other teams that are in the same position as the Bucs when it comes to the receiver room depth. One free agent move that I will say I do really like for them is picking up Justin Reed from the Kansas City Chiefs, veteran safety, not paying him a bunch of money, but it is a good signing for them in my opinion. Adding some veteran presence to that back end. Once again, Tyrann Mathieu, a safety, retiring. You bring in Justin Reed. I think that's a good move by them, so I will give them that. They didn't have a ton of big name exits outside of the guys that are retired, like I previously mentioned. Players leaving in free agency. The biggest one was Paulson Adebo, cornerback. He ends up going to the Giants, so that leaves a hole in their secondary because they lost two guys last year. When you look at Paulson Adebo and then trading Marshawn Lattimore, you're relying on some guys to step up big time, and we'll get into that once we start going into this defense. The new guy leading the charge of that defense is Brandon Staley, former head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. The Saints will now be in a 3-4 defense instead of 4-3. That's going to be very, very weird to see. And he has his work cut out for him, as this defense was not a good one last year, could not force turnovers, and I believe was 30th against the run. We saw it for sure in our first meeting where Sean Tucker just absolutely went ballistic. Bucky had a good game too. Them and Carolina were pretty much the bottom feeders of the NFL when it comes to stopping the run. And like I said, I don't see much in terms of moves made that will help them get better in that area outside of a scheme change that somehow improves it. Brandon Staley, by the way, has never really been very good against the run when you look at his defenses. So I don't have faith in that improving. So pulling up their depth chart now and kind of just going, position group by position group. Defensive line, I'm not a big fan of it, if I'm being honest. Carl Granderson, solid edge. Chase Young, solid edge. Outside of that, Godshaw, Brian Brees, Cam Jordan, there's no one there that I really have confidence in. And as a Bucs fan, that I'm like, oh, we need to be worried about this defensive line at all. There's no threat. Tristan Wirfs against Chase Young, Luke Gadecki against Carl Granderson. Like, I'm not tripping at all about anyone on this defensive line. I'm not gonna say it's horrible. It's it's just Like I said, no one that scares you at all. Now, their best position group for sure is linebacker defensively. Demario Davis, I think, is 36 years old now, still getting it done, still in that same kind of class as Levante David, where they continue to get older and just aren't falling off, just continuing to ball year after year after year. Demario Davis absolutely falls into that category. And next to him is Pete Werner, a very solid linebacker that I do like his game. and gets the job done pretty consistently. So definitely their best defensive position group is that linebacker position. Moving into the secondary, once again, that's all I can give it is Kool-Aid McKinstry, he does show some promise, but he is, a second-year guy. Him being your cornerback one, going up against the likes of Mike Evans, Drake London, Tet McMillan, just in the division alone, I don't know how much faith I have in Kool-Aid, if I'm being honest. Opposite him is Alontae Taylor, a guy who they had to move outside last year after Marshawn Lattimore exited via trade, and it didn't go well. He is a very good nickel slot cornerback, but since moving him outside, it just has not worked out. It's both a cornerback position, but outside corner and inside corner, it plays differently. And Alontae Taylor just plays the inside a lot better, but because of lack of depth, they're throwing him outside. So good luck with Godwin, Ibuka, McMillan. Yeah. And then at safety, like I said, there was supposed to be a Tyrann Mathieu here, but he retires. So you now have two free agents, new free agents, that are playing your starting safety position. So Justin Reed, like I said, I do like that pickup. And then Julian Blackmon, a underrated pickup. I'll give him that from the Indianapolis Colts. We will have to see how that plays. Overall with the defense, I don't trust it against the run. Not impressed by their pass rush. Very good linebacking core. I'll give them that. But really outside of that, it looks very similar to last year outside of those two new safeties. But I don't think either of those guys are game-changing guys that, as a division rival, we need to worry about at all. Before going into their offense, let's talk about their draft a little bit. So with their first-round pick, they pick up Kelvin Banks Jr., left tackle from the Texas Longhorns. I do like that move for them. Very good pick. We'll see how he ends up playing out, but on paper, smart move, getting you a left tackle for the future to go along with Fuaga, who was a pick up last year in the draft. Those are two very promising young tackles. I'll give them that. Left tackle, right tackle. If you can lock down those positions, that is a very good start to a rebuild that the Saints are trying to put together. I'll give them that. So, second round is when we go into the whole Tyler Shough thing. They end up going Tyler Shough, 26-year-old quarterback. We've all heard the stories. Dealt with injuries, playing at Louisville. I don't agree with it. I know a lot of Saints fans don't even agree with it, but it's the pick that was made. And from what I'm hearing right now from Saints camp, Spencer Rattler is so far the clear favorite to win that starting quarterback job. So you just used a second-round pick on a guy who's 26 years old to play his first season as a redshirt year. So once he takes off that red shirt and goes into his sophomore season, you're going to have basically a 27-year-old rookie, first-time NFL quarterback. I just don't get it. He's not a guy that has a high enough ceiling to elevate this roster. Let me pull the roster back up for you. He does not have a high enough ceiling to elevate this offense. I just seriously don't understand the pick. Even if you wanted to go Shadur Sanders, he may be more likely to be a bust, but he also has a lot higher of a ceiling, in my opinion, than Tyler Shough. So he is a guy that, if he can reach that ceiling, could take this Saints team from 3 to 4 wins to maybe 6 to 7. Tyler Shough, I don't see him being that game-changing type of player that can do such a thing. And the fact that Spencer Rattler, who was their 4th-round pick last year, didn't win a game in any of the games he started, is apparently like the clear favorite so far during training camp. It's just not a good look. It's not a good look. Jake Haener is back there as well, still sitting at that 3rd-string spot. But looking at this offense overall, Alvin Kamara, it's another year older at the running back position. I don't think he will be better this year than we've ever seen him in years past. If he matches his production from years past, all right. I mean, that's good for the Saints. Very good dual threat back, running and receiving. Picks up a bunch of total yards from scrimmage. All good things for them. Keandre Miller, a guy we really haven't been able to see too much from yet. Young running back. We'll see how that plays out. Devin Neal, I believe, was their 7th round pick from Kansas. Yes. So Devin Neal, 7th round pick from Kansas. Once again, young guy, 7th round pick, taking that flyer on him. We'll see how that plays out. Wide receiver position, Chris Olave, still, in my eyes, is a very good receiver. He is a wide receiver 1 when healthy, but who's getting the ball to him? You know what I'm saying? Like, can he stay healthy? There's a lot of questions about Chris Olave's production, whether it be his fault or not. Extremely talented. Extremely talented. No doubts about that. But can he stay healthy? And I don't even know what's happened, but he already has a questionable marker next to him. Based on pregame warmups, Olave ankle is not in line to play in Sunday's preseason opener against the Chargers. Okay. I don't think that's that big of a deal, but we'll see. He's still only 25 years old. Still in that rookie contract. We'll see. That's all you can do. Rashid Shaheed, explosive. As a receiver, popped off a lot more last year. Has always been a pretty good returner since he's been in the league. We'll see how he can elevate his game after an injury last year. Brandon Cooks, veteran. I don't think you're expecting a huge year from him, but he provides depth. Jawan Johnson, we've already talked about as that tight end. Their tight end room, okay. Taysom Hill still lurking around, apparently. Foster Moreau, average sort of guy. No one here that really scares you. No one here that I think is better than Cade Otton. And I don't know that Cade Otton scares a lot of people. So there's that. Like I said, offensive line, very promising at your tackle positions. Kelvin Banks Jr., promising. Fuaga, promising. And if they can get those guys, like I said, to improve into 2026, 2027, they got something cooking there along the offensive line. Trevor Penning, I don't think this has really worked out very much for them, but they're continuing to ride it and see where it takes them. McCoy and Ruiz, both solid interior guys. Nothing to complain about there if you're a Saints fan. Overall, I mean, as a Bucs fan, I'm not scared of this Saints team. I'm not even trying to be like funny and like, rival type thing. Just seriously looking at their roster, like first year head coach, whoever the quarterback ends up being, there's no experience there, no veteran leadership in that quarterback room. It's just 3 young guys, and none of them are playing well enough to grab that job. Like, the fact that they're all splitting reps right now in training camp is not a good thing. They need to solidify who this number 1 quarterback is so that he can lock in. The coach can lock in with him. They can give him all the first team reps, and they can see where this season takes him. It's probably not going to take him far. If it doesn't take him far, oh well. You have a great draft pick. You have 2 good tackles. You have a young wide receiver, and you see where it goes. But 2025 for New Orleans, it's not looking promising. That's just my opinion. Obviously, this is the NFL. Anything can happen. And, we'll see. We'll see. I don't trust it. That's it for me, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave your comments down below, your thoughts on what the Saints will bring this year. Anything you're worried about, or are you just chalking it up to, yeah, this team's going to be last place in the division for sure, which I think is the way most people are leaning. So thank you so much for watching again. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Go Bucs, and y'all have a blessed one.
Hey, hey.